people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. After a long stint of radio silence, while dealing with his latest legal issues, Gervonta Davis stuck his head out of the sand, saying he was getting his ass beat in camp, he being Jake Paul. I was going to do him bad, but everything happens for a reason, and that's why I didn't trip. The reason being, you're being accused of domestic violence for the umpteenth time. It's the reason all these things happened. Gervonta continued, Shawty has a whole history of going after men for their money, but it's me, so y'all believed it. Well, don't you have a whole history of domestic abuse cases? And that's a big part of what made it so believable. Y'all couldn't wait. More opportunities in the future, though. So Gervonta Davis is still insistent that the real reason that Jake Paul called the fight off is because he was getting beat up in camp. So he decided to fight a heavyweight instead. How much sense does that make? Oh yeah, he was so terrified of the statuesque 5'5", 5'6" lightweight that he decided to fight a full-blown heavyweight instead. Because that's supposed to be safer. So like, what the fuck is Gervonta Davis? Retarded? I think he is. I think he's the byproduct of fetal alcohol syndrome. That doesn't make any fucking sense. He was so worried about a fight with a lightweight that he decided to fight a heavyweight instead, who stands a much better chance of not just beating him, but hurting him permanently. You have to make that make sense. Because I can't. So now Gervonta Davis says that there will be other opportunities in the future, the not so distant future. I don't know what opportunities those are going to be, because the amount of money that he would have made with Jake Paul is not easily replaced with anybody who's just hanging around. You don't make with Isaac Cruz or Lamont Roach in a rematch. What you could have made with Jake Paul doesn't pay anywhere near the same money. Was he supposed to get $40 million? You're not going to get that fighting either of those two guys, and worse, that if you do fight those two guys again in pursuit of a decent-sized payday, well, it's a real fight. It's a real job. We see what you looked like with Lamont Roach the first time you fought him. Looked like shit. It was very much Gervonta Davis's intention to retire off of the money that he would have made in the Jake Paul fight, and he expressed that himself. He was going to retire off of that. But now that he doesn't have that money to fall back on, does he retire? Does he return to regular boxing? And what about this legal kerfuddle? What about this latest legal situation? Because Gervonta Davis has resurfaced and is back on his social media, should we interpret this as him effectively having smoothed things over with his accuser? Has he made this all go away? These are just my thoughts. I've given up any hope of seeing Gervonta Davis in a fight that I want to see him in against a formidable adversary. He's clearly not about that life. So I don't actually care to see him come back in any capacity, to fight anyone in any capacity. I liked it more when he was all set to go, fight Jake Paul, and then retire. I was actually happy with that arrangement. It provided the security that Gervonta Davis has his exit strategy, enough money to retire on, that we don't have to see him in regular boxing anymore. But now there's a huge question mark as to whether or not he will retire. Things didn't work out. So a Twitter user who goes by the name The Takeover Season say, "The game misses you, broski. This shit is so bunk now." To which Gervonta responded, "Fuck y'all." Wait a minute. The guy says that he misses Gervonta Davis, and for that, Gervonta says, "Fuck you?" I think, in a very general sense, you You have to be a very strange person to be a fan of Gervonta Davis, to put up with this kind of abuse. And for what? Guy doesn't fight anybody good anyway.
I don't know what they get out of putting him on a pedestal. In any event, Gervonta Davis has resurfaced, albeit momentarily, to spout more nonsense in his fashion.
I take care of my family. I be with my kids. My son plays sports. My two girls play sports. I be with my family. Be with my fiance, my mom, my dad, traveling the world and just enjoying life. I come back whenever I'm ready.
Because they see Errol Spence Jr. out and about and at the fights, they're naturally going to ask him about his comeback. When can we expect him to come back? Now, I myself don't actually expect him to come back. I don't expect Errol Spence Jr. to ever box again. He keeps giving them the same kind of answer.
He's been saying the same thing for about 2 years now, 2 going on 3.
That he will come back when he's ready. But if 2 to 3 years out from his last fight, he's still not ready, when is he going to be? So he was in attendance for this weekend's PBC card representing his fighter, Frank Martin, who also made his ring return after a long stint of inactivity. Knocked out Rancis Bartholomew, looked good doing it, and that's why he was out there. That's what he was there for. But as far as his own boxing career, I think Crawford ended that.
I think that if Errol Spence Jr. wanted to come back, the itch would have got to him by now. At any point after the Crawford fight, and now, the itch to return, the desire to fight, would have compelled him to come back by now. If it still hasn't, it is not going to. And come back at what weight? What, at 154? One of the deepest and most dangerous weight classes in the sport right now. It would be less than ideal for Errol Spence Jr. to come back at that weight, but he wouldn't have much of a choice since he can't make 147 anymore. He'd have to come back at 154. If he did, everybody would go after him.
He would instantly become the most sought-after fight at the weight, as he would be the low-hanging fruit. Simultaneously, one of the most popular and more beatable fighters.
Everybody would go after him. Hell, Virgil Ortiz and Oscar De La Hoya, they're trying to go after him now.
Wasn't it them talking about doing a fight between Virgil and Errol at Dallas Cowboy Stadium? Even though Errol is quasi-retired, and you can see that. It's closer to 3 years since that beating that he suffered at the hands of Terrence Crawford. At some point, the media's got to stop asking him the same question.
Sort of asking him the same thing over and over again for the sake of asking him something, when it's very obvious the guy is not coming back. He doesn't want to come back. He's enjoying his money. He's traveling the world, and he likes it that way.
The difficulty it takes to do all of this is only accentuated by the amount of time it's taking Errol to do it, if he is going to do it at some point. The longer it takes him to come back, the more difficult it's going to be to come back.
To get back in the swing of things? What is he, in his mid-30s now?
A lot of the fighters that came up with him, they're gone. Sean Porter's retired. I think Danny Garcia is also. Keith Thurman's been quasi-retired for years. Terrence's career is approaching the end. I just don't see Errol Spence Jr. resuming his own boxing career at any point in the near and distant future. I think he's done. I've thought that for a long time now, and it still appears to ring true. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, you may have heard, Mario Barrios teams up with former Ryan Garcia trainer Joe Goossen for their fight. Mario Barrios is making a key change to his corner for his forthcoming fight against Ryan Garcia. WBC welterweight champion Barrios announced on Saturday that he'll be trained by former Garcia trainer and Hall of Fame coach Joe Goossen. For their February 21st fight, Barrios was previously coached by Bob Santos.
He was with Bob Santos for a while. I would say that he had a lot of success with Bob, but that's not really how I would describe Mario's last few outings.
It just makes sense for me where I am in my career, Barrios said. Me and Joe are familiar with each other. He commented on a lot of my earlier fights. I know his style and what he teaches and brings as a coach and a trainer. I want to do as much as I can in this sport and division in the next few years. This move with Joe is going to help bring everything together. I think we are going to have a great run together. We can do really big things together, bigger than anything he's been doing so far with Bob Santos. You have to understand, he's been with Bob Santos for a long while now. But all the while, he's looked less than spectacular. All the while, he's looked beatable, like one of the most beatable champions at 147. Now, veteran trainer Joe Goossen said that he started training Barrios 2 weeks ago. We are gelling really well, said Goossen. We are working on perfection right now, with a lot of rounds on the floor. After learning of the news, Garcia said, y'all are going to get cooked. It's over. Goossen trained Garcia for 3 fights in 2022 through 2023. Goossen led Garcia to wins against Emmanuel Tago, Javier Fortuna, and they parted ways after Garcia's knockout loss to Gervonta Davis.
Do you think maybe Mario Barrios went to Joe Goossen so he would have the inside track on Ryan?
Well, that's one way you can look at it. But Ryan's already been through so many different trainers, Joe Goossen, Derek James, Eddie Reynoso, that he could have just as easily went to any one of them and got the same inside track on Ryan. So maybe it's that Ryan has been around so much. Using one of the same trainers that he used is an occupational hazard. It may not even be on purpose. It just boils down to proximity. Barrios is coming off a majority draw against Manny Pacquiao in July. Garcia last fought in May and lost a unanimous decision to Rolly Romero. This fight just makes sense now, given who Ryan is and what he brings to the sport. Regardless of everything else he has going on, said Barrios, he's still an explosive fighter and still a very dangerous fighter. This fight has all the intangibles to be a very exciting fight.
Who's supposed to be training Ryan for this fight?
I heard a blurb about Henry Garcia, Ryan's father, being the head trainer, the one in charge of training him and readying him for this Mario Barrios fight. That's what I heard. I don't know if they're going to stick to that, but just seeing what Mario's doing and that he's already been training with Joe Goossen for at least 2 weeks now, that may leave Ryan so inclined to make some additions to his own corner, you know?
Maybe.
Being honest with you, even though Mario hired Joe Goossen, I don't really think it's going to make all that much of a difference. I still have Ryan Garcia winning the fight. I expect Ryan to be juiced to the gills and ready to go, ready to win.
All these boxing guys love the Ali Act the way it is now. I want to see how many of them actually stay there and do that version of the Ali Act instead of the add-on that we're going to do. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist to see what's going on with all these guys. All these guys that are crying the loudest are the fucking problems. They're the problem, every one of these guys. And, you know, Crawford, nobody told Crawford to say anything. Crawford's his own man doing his own thing, and that's how he feels. And we'll see how this thing plays out in the next couple of years.
Are you surprised by this frosty reception from the other boxing promoters?
No, not at all. Not at all. But here's the thing that's great for fighters is that they have options. You know, all these promoters are saying the Ali Act is perfect and this is the way it should be. I want to see them all stay in it. I want every one of them to stay in the Ali Act as it is now for the next however many years. I fucking guarantee you they won't.
2 more quick ones from me. You said earlier this year that in the new...
Veteran boxing scribe Sean Zattel reacted to that video from Dana White by saying, after we make cheap manufacturing in China a thing, I want to see these other companies still make clothes and products in the United States. Oh wait, that's right. They can't compete with our unethical business model.
Wait a minute, what's supposed to make it unethical, Sean? It's not like the fighters have to sign to Dana White. They have a choice. And if some guys choose to go over there, isn't that a decision that they are making?
I don't know what it is with a lot of people these days and trying to be a modern-day Jesus, a modern-day savior. looking for a cause to champion?
Oh, you're worried about the unethical business model that TKO presents as opposed to how ethical boxing is the rest of the time.
Because it was ethical of the WBA to allow Ryan Garcia, who was coming off a doping violation and a suspension, an opportunity to fight for a version of their title. Remember that? With Rolly?
Is that ethical?
And even though he loses that fight, the World Boxing Council is now affording him yet another opportunity to fight for another belt, even though he's coming off a loss. And not just him, but Conor Benn.
Is that ethical?
Who is coming right off a loss at middleweight and hasn't boxed as a welterweight in approximately 3 years. He's just achieved a #1 rank ahead of so many other fighters who have been at the weight the whole time. Does that seem ethical to you, Sean? Because this is how boxing is, the vast majority of the time, all without Dana White. A Twitter user who goes by the name Combat Sports said, "Sean, you missed the point. Other promoters will copy his model. PBC, DAZN, the product will finally improve. Boxing will improve. It will get to UFC, NFL level as media properties. Your irrational love of the status quo would hold the sport back." To which Sean responded, "I cover the NFL, and yes, it's a gravy train, but people also say it's getting watered down, including Tom Brady. People have said the same about the NBA, they're saying it about TKO's WWE. Pure commercialism and forsaking all other values can come at a cost."
What is it that you're trying to preserve, Sean? Boxing's good name? Boxing's good image? Newsflash! All the major networks are gone.
All that network money that NBC and Fox and Showtime and HBO used to provide, all of that is gone. So clearly, something is wrong. You don't even address it while you focus on the would-be evils of TKO and their unethical business practices as if boxing is at all ethical.
On Saturday, Stephen Fulton, after missing the weight by about 2 pounds, he was afforded the chance to fight for an interim lightweight title. As a result, does that seem ethical to you? That the guy doesn't even bother to make the weight, but you should get to fight for a title anyway?
See, with guys like Sean, TKO's critics don't want to understand is boxing has been going in the wrong direction for a long time now, all without TKO's involvement, to where you don't need to worry about them and whatever they're going to do, because they're not boxing's biggest problem. They're not boxing's downfall. They are but an alternative.
All of this virtue signaling online accomplishes nothing, little more than just individuals with a hero complex looking for a cause to champion.
Oh, because TKO is so unethical, as opposed to all the ethical people we see all the time in boxing, right?
All these pillars of the community like Gervonta Davis, a serial domestic abuser.
Give it a rest, Sean. At the very most, Dana White's TKO will provide something new, something different. We don't even know if it's going to work. But all this belly aching about it is for the birds. Whatever fighters decide to go over there, they will do so of their own volition, and they don't need saving.
So let's stop with the knight in shining armor act.